Is South African history fabricated? Were we lied to? Welcome to the Michaelhouse in Balgowan, an absolute megastructure, complete with a tower, impeccable brickwork, and haunting architectural perfection, clearly built to last 1,000 years. History tells us that Michaelhouse was founded 129 years ago in Pietermaritzburg in 1896 by James Cameron Todd, an Anglican canon. We're told James was given 24 hectares of prime land in the middle of nowhere. But no one mentions who gave it to him, or why. We're also told that construction of the buildings was started in 1900, and the school took occupation in 1901. So there's no mention of who donated the land to James, but he was able to start building in 1900 and finished in 1901. 12 months to build. Does this look like a building put together in the early 1900s in colonial-era Balgowan? Does this look like something built with limited manpower, imported red bricks and horse-drawn wagons? Or does it look like it was already here? Towering ceilings, vaulted arches, walls so thick they seem war-ready. They tell us it's a copy, a nod to the Gothic revival. But maybe it's not imitating Europe. Maybe it's remembering something much, much older. Why here, in the middle of nowhere? Why this scale, gigantic to say the least? Why this level of permanence? Michaelhouse was supposedly built for education, but it looks like it was built for endurance and aesthetics. Built to withstand time, to survive war, to project power, and it does. Over a century later, it stands untouched, unweathered, unchallenged. In the heart of rural KwaZulu-Natal. We are told that it has an underground room, large enough for 30 people to gather comfortably. I'm willing to bet that it goes even deeper than that, and I'm also willing to bet that no one has ever seen the architectural designs. The school was designed by Matthew Price and Frank Kent. Matthew Price appears to have designed nothing else in South Africa, and there doesn't seem to be any history about him overseas, other than he was working in Kent, England, when ordered abroad on account of ill health. And in 1895, upon his arrival in South Africa, he was appointed District Inspector of Newcastle and Dundee Division for the Public Works Department of the Natal government. Imagine that. You're working for someone named Thomas E. Price, who just happens to have the same surname as you in the area of Kent, in England. And then you're ordered to go work in Africa just because you're sick. On top of that, as soon as you arrive in South Africa, you're appointed District Inspector for the Natal government. I wonder how the Natal government did their background checks on this guy from the other side of the world in 1895 before hiring him. One can only assume that background checks weren't done. He also begins working with a guy whose surname is Kent. So he leaves Kent, arrives in South Africa sick, immediately gets appointed to one of the highest positions in government, and then partners up with a guy named Kent, and they both design Michaelhouse. And that's it. That's as far as his career in South Africa goes. He's never heard from again. So what about the other guy, Frank Kent? I wonder if Frank Kent was also in Kent in England. Frank built nothing of major importance in South Africa. Nothing that really stands out today, and not much can be found online about his architectural career in England either. A dead end. And these are the guys that supposedly designed Michaelhouse. Is the founding of this megastructure a made-up story? It sure sounds that way to me. Like some kind of AI that wrote a script and couldn't come up with more names, so it just duplicated what it had. Price and Kent, which is why we can't really find anything about these guys online. Surely they would be more famous for designing a megastructure of this magnitude. Which construction company was used to carry out the works? What tools were used to build this thing within 12 months? They probably didn't even have power tools, and they managed to design and build a structure that's clearly strong enough to last 1,000 years. Who were these guys? Was Michaelhouse truly constructed in the early 20th century? Or was it one of the buildings found on the oldest maps of Africa? Restored, repurposed, rewritten into a colonial narrative. At Anomaly Africa, we don't just question the timelines, we question the very foundations. Because some buildings were not made to last a school term, they were clearly built to last 1,000 years.